verse 19 through 21. About Jesus of Nazareth, they replied. So this is the part where Christ already resurrected, and Christ is like walking right behind two people, and they don't know it's Christ. So Christ like hid himself from them, and he's just talking to them like regular. He's just acting like an average Joe, right? You know, what up, people? Right? And then they're talking to him, and then they're like, about Jesus of Nazareth. They replied, he was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we'd hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. We hoped. We were hoping he would redeem. But he's dead. Like, right? What does this mean? That's it. They walk away. Like they're done. Like Jesus, whatever, is done. Right? But instead of walking away, what do they claim? Christ resurrected. They don't say, oh, the kingdom is not restored. They don't say other things like, oh, no, our kingdom, whatever. They say Christ resurrected. This goes against everything they believe in. This doesn't, like, logically, doesn't even fit into the traditions of Judaism, the history of Israel. It doesn't fit in any part of the story. But they just randomly start declaring Jesus had risen from the dead. What? This goes against what they believe in. They thought that here was a Messiah that was going to come to restore the kingdom. He did not do that. He failed, right? According to them. And yet they kept saying that he resurrected. Not only did they say they resurrected, they claimed that he was God and that they were going to worship him. Why would that happen if it wasn't true? Abed, stand up. Maybe stand up. I could dig them. Stretch. Could dig them. Let's keep going. Some people. So I had a good video. It was pretty powerful stuff. Pretty serious.
What's the name?
No. You know, one more thing. I'm going to start one more time to see if this works. This is all his fault. The thing is, yeah, it keeps loading. Okay, I'm it's fine. Okay. One of those days. In the movie Religulous, right? Huh?
That's my movie.
That's your movie?
Those jokes.
In the movie Religulous, Bill Maher, or I hope I'm no, I want to mispronounce his name. So he makes some crazy disclaimer, and I wanted to show it to you guys. One of the things that he fallaciously says is there are a lot of competing stories to the resurrection story, right? And what he did is, and I wish it would load, but what he did is he goes into this museum, if you will. And the museum, they're like all church folks, and they believe in all these things, and he walks around, he starts interviewing people, right? In this museum, they do they have like this actor that's playing the role of Christ, and they actually crucified this actor on the cross and everything like that. And then it's supposed to be action, like a movie, a play, a drama, whatever you call it. So that's what they're doing, right? So then he's going around, he's interviewing all these people. He's like, why do you believe in the story of the resurrection of Christ, right? And they're like, well, it's written in the Bible, and there's no story like it. And he's like, that's not quite true. And then they're like, what do you mean? They're like, what about Osiris? What happened to Osiris? Osiris rose from the dead. He resurrected from the dead, and he did these things too. And then he starts writing down all these things, and he claims that he was born from a virgin mother, right? And all these things, and he's going down, and he starts doing like a parallel. He starts comparing the story of Christ with other small letter G gods. And I was sitting there, I was like, I was like, I don't know. Because like we always preach that Christ's story is unique and, one of the kind. And when I heard that other gods in the past had a virgin birth, resurrected, had 12 disciples, ascended into heaven, you guys start asking, what is special about the story of Christ, right? But me, I always do my own research after I hear something. I'm not going to believe somebody just because he said it. And I found out that he was definitely lying. But I can't really talk to him, so I have to talk to you guys about it. Now, before I tell you exactly where he went wrong, what the comparison is, I want you guys to understand a few things about the resurrection story in itself. On that Sunday morning, I'm looking at the next fill in the blank. On the Sunday morning, when the tomb was found empty, the disciples declared, Jesus has risen from the dead. Jesus has risen from the dead. Again, like we said, where did they get the idea from? Like, where would that concept come, where did it come from? Here's the other problem. All Jews believed that there is a resurrection. So, let's not get it confused. They believed in a resurrection. But they believed in a resurrection that would take place at Judgment Day. Here's another fill in the blank. They believed that the resurrection that would take place when? Judgment Day. Not only that, they believed that the resurrection was universal. Meaning that everyone would resurrect. All believers would resurrect at Judgment Day. They never thought and had an idea of a secluded, singular event of a resurrection in the way that Christ happened. But in the case of Christ, not only did it precede the Judgment Day, meaning it's clearly not the end of the world, because we're still here, and he's resurrected, so it preceded the day of Judgment Day, but it was a singular event. It was only him that resurrected. There was no philosophy, teaching, history, anything that suggests that these people believed in such a manner. So you're left to wonder, where did they get the idea of a resurrection from if there was no competing historical background event such as this one? The other important factor, which is different from all the other ones, which we're about to see, is we're not saying Christ came back to life. We're saying Christ rose himself from the dead, which is completely different from saying that he came back to life. And there's a huge difference, huge misconception between the two. Are you guys with me? For example, we're going to talk about the miracles of restoring life and the resurrection. You can read about the miracle of Elijah. And the miracle of Elijah, what did he do? You guys got to read your Bibles. What did Elijah do? He ascended, okay. And I don't like to use the word ascended for Elijah. I like to use the word assumed. Assumed means you're dependent. Ascended means you're independent. Elijah. He was walking by, he saw a poor woman. He walked into their house, he found that their kid was dead. So he restored the kid's life. And this was the miracle of Elijah. Elsa had a very similar phenomenon where he was walking by a woman, and the story is very amazing, very moving. 2 Kings chapter 4. The woman saw that he was a spiritual man. She brought him over to the house. She was barren. So she asked, I want to have a kid, basically. He gave her a kid. And after she received the kid of not being able to have kids for a long time, the kid died. She asked Elsa to revive him. He brought him back to life. We talked about the miracle of Jesus today, I believe, and the raising of Lazarus. When Lazarus died, he went to the tomb. Jesus went to the tomb. He said, Lazarus, come out. And just by commanding him to come out, he came out. And by the way, we know for a fact Lazarus was dead. Why do we know for a fact Lazarus was dead? 4 days. 3 days is the basic day to know that someone was dead in their culture. If you wait 4 days, it was kind of like for sure they're dead. So what they would do in their culture is they would wait 3 days before they would prepare or bury somebody in the tomb. That was the rule. They would wait 3 days. The 4th day meant he was dead for sure. Like he's not sick.